I used to think like people were afraid of failure. That's why they don't go like big or go for the fences. I'm starting to think more that people are afraid of success.
Because they have a broken mindset. They're not a fighter. They're not a winner. They're looking for someone else to do it for them, and they're looking for someone to blame.
You know, I haven't touched an Oreo since I saw an ad, and I know they just did it for clickbait, but it literally was an Oreo.
I have shared every single secret of everything that I possibly do with thousands of agents, and the more I give.
The Department of Education spent $50 billion to try to make your kid a vegan tranny, right? And like somebody might go, oh my God, DJ, I can't believe you said that. But like me personally, I think that is a mental health problem. Welcome, guys, to the Sales Factory. It's your host, Coach Carroll, with another episode. You're here in the factory, and today I got my man, Coach P, in the building. I'm pumped about this one. This one's going to be fun. This guy is a top-performing insurance agent with multiple offices in the DFW area. He's also a business coach for insurance agents. And him and I also share quite a few funny memes on Instagram back and forth with each other. Coach P, welcome to the Sales Factory, my man.
Excited to be here, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. Give the people, if they don't know who you are, obviously they've probably seen me post about you before, but if no one knows who you are, talk a little bit about how long have you been selling insurance, been in the insurance game, and you actually kind of come from an insurance bloodline as well. So talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I've been in the family forever. Been doing this since 2007. So it was my first job out of college. It's the only thing I know. Was in Tennessee, was in Memphis for 3 years, and then moved out to Texas in 2010, opened my own agency. So we're going on year 14 now. We've built it up to 3 agencies. We've got over 50 employees now. We're blowing and going and having a lot of fun and just finding new ways every day to be successful. That led into a coaching business to where now I help my peers all across the country just share tips, best practices on how to be good in this game, how to be good at insurance, how to build your business, and how to continue to set new records every year.
Yeah, I love it, man. And not everybody that I have on the Sales Factory is what I call an entrepreneur. I think that word gets watered down a little bit. To me, there's business owners and then there's entrepreneurs. I think you're truly an entrepreneur. You've got multiple hustles. And then I've seen you post about like you've got rental property, like vacation rentals as well, right? A lot of people may not know that about you.
Yeah. So over the years, I've really bought into the business ownership idea that's how you can truly create wealth and freedom in a future. So we've created or purchased other companies. I am an owner of Agency Team Pro that helps agents across the country with their beginning of day task services. We've scaled a few electrical companies. Big into real estate. I've got about 14 short-term rentals in a few areas of the country that we just have fun with, right? So some of that's just kind of passion projects. Love insurance, love real estate, just love business. So always looking for the next thing where we continue to find areas where we can just build a future for ourselves and have some fun doing it.
I love it, man. And you're definitely somebody that's super passionate about this. I think that's probably why your coaching business has been so successful. I think it's funny. Share how you got started with the coaching business, because you were just doing trainings for your inside team, right? And people were like, hey, can I hang out on those? And so
Yeah,
take a second, share about that, because I think that's a pretty interesting origin story for your coaching business.
sure. It is interesting. You know, you talked about the word entrepreneur getting watered down, and I completely agree with you. And I would say for a long time, I was in that boat. I was an insurance agent for a long time, trying to be a better insurance agent. And I would not call myself a great business owner. And I truly accidentally fell into Coach P. We became good at what we did. And I had a lot of friends and peers reaching out to me for help. And I was helping a lot of them. I'm a yes man. It's something I've had to work on to get better at, because I've just gotten so busy is learning when and where to say no. But at my core, I'm a yes man. And I got to the point where I had multiple offices. I had said yes to all these people, and I was trying to keep fulfilling my duties and be great at everything that I did. And it was getting harder and harder. And COVID came around, and it kind of gave me the light bulb, because we were doing everything virtually at the time, and I just had this light bulb moment. I said, "Man, I'm helping all these people. I'm spread too thin, but I am helping my team every day. That's why we're successful. I coach my team on a daily basis. We have morning
Mm,
meetings and we practice." And I had that light bulb moment that said, "Well, man, why don't I just combine all of it and I can still help these people?" And I called him and said, "Man, what if you join in on my morning meetings? And that way I'm coaching my team. You're a part of it. You can hear it, you can see it. It's live, it's real." And we did that. And I committed to 3 months. And there were 10 of my peers. And I said, "All right, let's see how it goes for 3 months." And after the 3 months was up, all of them said, "We got to keep going." And I had enjoyed it, and I had gotten a lot out of it too because it forced me to be better. Like when I know it's not just my team, when there's other people, like I was prepping more, I was giving better content, like I was taking it even more seriously. So after the 3 months, we kept it rolling, and then that's when they started asking, "Hey, can we bring a friend?" And then the word started getting out, and then by the time we rolled into spring, there were 50 agents, and it just got out of control. And that's when I said, like, "All right, we gotta do something. We gotta build some
gotta get some
parameters."
structure here.
And yeah, and that's all it was. We were trying to find structure, and that's when we actually turned it into Coach P, and we created a program. But that was the origin, is that I was just trying to help my peers, and all I was doing was letting them in on my existing meetings. And
Yeah,
that's
man.
really still the basis of what we do today, is that I am coaching the rest of the country along with my team. So you get very real, raw information that is making a difference and creating, our office to be one of the top performers. And now everyone gets the behind the scenes look.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like you got to have a coach, right? And like if you can't afford to pay like a one-on-one consultant or a coach, like for one-on-one training, like get into group coaching or buy a book or a course or something. Like everybody, you need to have coaches. And also I'm like, don't hire a coach that doesn't get coaching or doesn't get better themselves, right? Like that's
Yeah.
another big piece. And but I just think that's such a cool origin story, man, that you were already coaching your team and you get them, you're starting to get the messages like all of us get, that it's like, "Hey man, can I pick your brain for a minute?" It's like, well,
Sure.
somebody starts picking your brain for a minute here and there and there and there. It's like you ain't got much brain to left to pick by the end of the day. And so I think that's just such a cool origin story. It wasn't like you set out to say, "All right, I'm gonna make a gazillion dollars coaching these insurance agents." It was just people going, "Hey, you're a top performer. I'd like to learn from you." And you're like, "Well, cool. The only free time I got is if you want to come settle over here because I got to coach my team." Because, well, you've done a great job, man, keeping the main thing the main thing. And I think that's super important in business is that I've watched you continue to build your insurance business. It wasn't like you got it to 20 people and a certain number of premium and then like, okay, cool, I'll start doing these other things, which happens to a lot of small business owners that try to be entrepreneurs, right? Their main thing kind of falls by the wayside as they start to go into other stuff. You've continued to build that, and that's why I know you're the real deal, man. Why I wanted to have you here in the sales factory. Let's shift gears a little bit. Obviously, you're coaching, these agents all across the country, and obviously you got kiddos. Like I see you're super active on social, and full transparency, we help you some with your stuff there as well. So shameless plug on my end on the paid advertising side. But talk to me about social and marketing and why it's important for you to keep yourself out there. I like the bling bling on the wrist too. If you guys are on the audio only, you had to go catch that on the YouTube version of it. But talk to me about how marketing and keeping yourself aware is super important. Because I wrapped up, I did a webinar this morning, and one of my big things is it all comes down to attention. If people don't know you, they can't spend their money with you. And I think you do such a great job. If anybody had the opportunity or the cop out ability to be like, "Hey man, I'm too busy to fuck with this shit," right? It would be you. Like you just said, like you got 50 employees in your insurance business, you're coaching hundreds, maybe I don't know how many agents you guys got that you're coaching. You got the electrical company, you got your real estate. Like if anybody had the ability to say like, "Hey, I'm not messing with this," like it would be you. But you still double down on it, man. You're still active and you still
Yeah.
put yourself out there. Talk to people that maybe still in 2025 are afraid to put themselves on camera or make content or put content out there to make themselves known.
Sure. Before I answer that, I got to tell you a little story because it's just timely. I
I love it.
You're right about the time. It is funny. Years ago, I reached out to a successful agent. And I remember being so turned off because of the way he responded to me. He said, we've got a group coming in, a paid group coming in, and you're welcome to join them for X number of dollars. And I was so turned off by it. It pissed me off at the time. But now fast forward 10 years and like I get it. I still don't ever want to be that guy where I say you can't talk to me unless you pay, but I get it. Because there's only so much time in the day. And last night, I've got 4 kids, 8 businesses, bunch of real estate. Like there's only so many hours in a day. And we get the kids to bed, we have our dinner, we get in bed. It's close to 11 o'clock. And my wife comes in, she's about to go do her face routine. And she asks me before she starts, how long are you going to be up? And I said, I'm going to be a while. I haven't even had time to get to my phone today. So I'm going to have to dig into my my emails, my texts, my DMs. And she goes, DMs? Who's DMing you? She said it jokingly, right? She's like, who's in your DMs? And I was like, babe, everyone. I am lit up like a Christmas tree 24/7 in every form of communication because there's always somebody. We got thousands of agents. Just the insurance company has over 50 employees. Then you bring in the other businesses. There's always someone that needs your time and attention.
Yeah.
And it's so important for me. Part of your question was you're still doing it, right? You're still delivering on the main thing. And it's because I believe that how you do anything is how you do everything. And my expectation for myself is to be great, like be the best version of yourself. So like once I get to whatever my original goal was, by the time I get there, the goal has changed. The bar has increased and you got to keep going. Like there is no stop. There's no slowdown because more and more people rely on you. More and more people need you. And I take that very seriously. Like I want to be able to deliver to everybody. So my team is as big as this because I have to keep delegating so I can free up time so I can continue to help others and scale. And I take that extremely seriously. And part of that is the answer to your question, why I think the social media and the marketing is so important because it gets out at least some of your messaging to the masses. I can't have a one-on-one conversation with everybody, right? But I can put out some content that lets them get behind the scenes a little bit and show them who I am as an individual. A lot of people just want to like test you. They want to have a conversation to see if they like you in the first place. Whether you like me or not by following me on Instagram. Like if I'm your cup of tea. So I get to save my time going down that road because you've seen the real version of me. And I know you promote this message. So on your podcast, this is something that doesn't even really need to be said, but people can't hear it too often. But I think the real secret and key to the marketing piece, especially on social media, is just being real and being authentic and quit sending out the canned crap that everyone just goes straight past and they don't even click on it. Like make yourself look like an idiot, right? Show your family, show your pets, show the things you're interested in. You got to be real because they can connect to that. And that's what we keep trying to do.
I think that's so solid, man. I want to just highlight how you do one thing is how you do everything. That is one of my favorite sayings. There's a famous story about somebody being at First Form, Andy Frisella's company, and they're using the bathroom, and the guy gets done using the bathroom, and he dries his hands with a paper towel, and he wipes the sink down, the inside of the sink bowl in the stuff, and he throws it away, and the person's like, "Hey, why'd you do that?" And they say, "How you do one thing's how you do everything," right? And like company culture, man. If you can get people down to the point, which I'm talking, that's a tall order. When you talk about company culture, and I think this is one of the reasons why Andy Frisella is so successful, is when you can indoctrinate people and get them drinking the Kool-Aid so hard that they're wiping down the bowl of the sink in the bathroom after they wash their hands because they believe attention to detail is that important. Like that's a whole different level of success. So I wanted to highlight on that one. We definitely dropped a cash register on that one for you. But the other thing too that I think is super important is somewhere along the way, people think that because we're in the new era of business, which I call this a new era of business, right? There's an online and an offline world. for some reason we think that the law of attraction just magically disappeared, right? The shit that Jim Rohn talks about, the stuff that Brian Tracy talks about attracting your perfect client, right? Attracting the perfect people to you. And I think that's part about being authentic and putting that stuff out there. I made a post this morning about, the Fed burning through all of this money and or the treasury burning through all this money. And I had Grok, they just dropped their new 3.0 on Twitter. I had it make a picture of the treasury on fire, and somebody like messaged me, they're like, hey dude, did the treasury really catch on fire? I'm like, no, it's AI image. But I put all this in there, and one of the lines was the Department of Education spent $50 billion to try to make your kid a vegan tranny, right? And like somebody might go, "Oh my God, DJ, I can't believe you said that." But like me personally, I think that is a mental health problem, right? Not the vegan. Don't come at me, vegans. But the other part of it, right? And so like where somebody would be afraid to put that out there, I think by me staking the claim and not being afraid to stick my flag in the ground and lose the 3 people that maybe are like, hey, that was too much, I don't want to do business with you, DJ. It makes the 15 people that do business with me and align with my values say, fuck yeah, dude, I'm with you. Like I'm double clicking on this now because we're in this together. We're trying to save the country. And I think that's what you're touching on there, David, is like, don't be afraid to be you, and put yourself out there. I see you, man. You do the cold plunges with your kiddos in the swimming pool, and you show people who you really are, and it's kind of, I think that's also comes from I'd be curious to hear your take on this. I think some of that comes from an abundance mindset of saying I don't need everybody as a customer, right? Like I'm okay
Yeah.
losing 5 for the 10 that do come to me, that they're going to be my perfect customer. What's your thoughts on
Sure.
that?
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. When you're young and experienced, you're not as confident. You're more desperate, right? You wanna cover everybody, but anybody that's been at it for a while, they're successful, they're confident, they realize they're not going after everybody. They have a
Yeah.
specific target, and the better they are at figuring out who that target is, they can go after it. And that's where you're right. Even if you want to, you bring up political information that's going
No,
around.
not
So
me.
many people don't want to touch it, right? And at the end of the day, if if I don't align, and it doesn't have to be politically, but like if we don't mesh well, the relationship's probably going to fall apart at some point anyway, right?
Right.
And the people that we do mesh well, the people that we do share values with, they're going to stick with us longer. They're going to fight for us. They're going to share our word with other people because now I'm no longer just your agent or whatever our business relationship is. Now we share a bond. Maybe we're brothers, right? And I think that stuff matters. And I think we're starting to see more of it where you had a lot of people these past 9 years kind of live in fear, right, of speaking up. And now the tide is turning. And I think you're going to see that. And, of course, you do it in a healthy professional way, right? You don't, you
Right.
don't talk bad about others. You don't try and burn other people down, but that doesn't mean you need to shy away from you being yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't have to get everybody. I remember very clearly, I gave a presentation in Kentucky, actually.
Oh shit.
It was ish. I was right on the board. I didn't even know what state. It was in Ohio, Kentucky. I didn't know where I was. It was like a Louisville, Cincinnati thing or whatever's close by. I don't even know. But I gave a presentation, and a woman came up to me afterwards, and she wanted to sign up for our program, but she told me that I should not call my female employees girls, that it was degrading. And so I see girls as guys. Like, I mean, that those are
Right.
interchangeable words: man, woman, male, female, girl, guy. Um, I just made a comment when I was giving my presentation. Some of the girls in our office, and she was offended by that. She was also the only person in a room of 100 wearing a COVID mask. I'm not going to say that they're related or not, but I was very clear. So she brought that up and brought up my language. Now I'm not up there dropping f bombs, but there might be a damn out there, or an ass. I would say PG rated.
PG-13. Yeah.
Um, but I told her that instead of being fake, right? Instead of trying to put up, I'm so sorry, that was a slip. Very clear. My program might not be for you, ma'am. Like if you were offended by that presentation, you being with me 2 days a week for the rest of the year, I don't know how it's going to work out for you, right? And you have to have the confidence to know that you're not for everybody. And that means
Yeah.
you shouldn't try and please everybody.
Yeah. Man, I think it's you hit the nail on the head that like the past 10 years and it probably started even before that, right? I think if you think when you say 10 years ago, we're thinking, 2016, I think Trump won his first election because it was like here's a guy that speaks his mind. This is a refreshing, thing to see in the political world. And again, like I think Obama was probably the most presidential president I can remember in my life. I'll be 37 this year. Like the way he talked and like how he's prim and proper, but like he still kind of had a little swag to him, right? But I think this has happened. We've seen this, and it's kind of like started in the colleges to where if like whatever you've done in the West to be successful, it's been bad, right? Like if you've grown to prominence, well, you've probably done that because you've stepped on other people, and that's how you got there. And it's like not necessarily, right? It's like for whatever reason in our country, we've come to this place where we can't have like a yes no situation. Like it's almost like, well, David, like, yes, I agree that the COVID mask thing was wrong, but I can't agree with you on this thing over here. Right. Like it's like one like we can't disagree. It's like if it's one, and this is where identity politics comes in, like if it's one, it's gotta be all versus like you can have differences. And I think that's what makes our country so amazing. And I think this is where honestly they fucked up with the whole diversity, equity, and inclusion thing. It's like I can get on board with diversity, but it's when you stop going based on diversity and merit, right? It's like it was diversity only, right? And it's like nobody, none of those studies say like, well, a more diverse group is better, but you get that more diverse group because that's the only reason. It's like, no, I want the best of the best on my team. And if that happens to be a whole room full of purple Indians, like fantastic, right? If it's all ginger white guys, like cool too. I don't give a fuck. Like I don't care what they look like. I want the best of the best on my team. And somewhere along the way, man, like we've lost our way from a meritocracy, and I just hope, man, I'm really hoping that this whole America First agenda, it's reiterating the spirit of Americans, whether you're on the left or the right, because guys, don't get it twisted. It's not Democrat Republican. It's the uniparty cronies, the people that have all the power at the top, and there's some from both sides. Like, hello, I'm from Kentucky. Have you heard of this tortoise named Mitch McConnell? Right? Like there is this uniparty of cronies that have all the power, and then the rest of us. And I just think it's so funny, man, with this whole, Adam Schiff is like, nobody voted for Elon to come in here and get people's social security numbers and bank account numbers. And it's like the guy owned PayPal. If he was going to do anything naughty, he would have done it back then when nobody knew who the hell he was and wasn't on the nightly news, every couple of nights. I think what you're seeing, man, is you're starting to see the downfall of this cronyism and a rise of like it's okay to be unapologetically you because Coach P, just like you said, that lady probably wasn't a good fit for your program. Hey man, there's probably somebody else out there that does align with her values that would be a good fit for her program, right? Like that
It's
that she
great
would
for
be a
everybody. It
that would
goes
be
back to that mindset of abundance that you asked about earlier. Like, you know, all the success that I've had in my 15 years in every department that I've been in or industry, no one has gone out of business. I haven't had to beat anyone else, right? And
mm,
the more I share with, I mean, heck, my insurance agency's never been better than it has in its entirety, right? While it's been alive, I have shared every single secret of everything that I possibly do with thousands of agents. And the more I give, the more success we continue to have. It is all about abundance. And there are way too many people out there that think what you talked about earlier about capitalism and making it evil, that if I win, you have to lose. It doesn't have to be like that at all. We can all win together. And that's why we're doing things like these podcasts and having these conversations. We're getting out the word, we're telling people what we're doing because we can all win together.
yeah. I keep saying too, is like it's never been a better time to be a business owner, to be an entrepreneur. And if you think like how our country was founded, that's where the word proprietor came from. You don't really hear it anymore. Like normally when you start a business, the first level of business is to be a sole proprietor, right?
Yep.
And like so it's like you're self-proprieting. So you're like making things or doing things. And again, somewhere along the lines, like we got away from the fact that like the majority of America, when the colonies came over here, they were proprietors because that's how they survived, right? Like there was one blacksmith in the community, there was one person that made shoes, there was one person that grew the corn, and I think like this, I don't know, man, this American spirit. I just feel it like this entrepreneurship and proprietorship and building things, man. And again, not to get too crazy. It's my podcast, so I say whatever the fuck I want. But it's I think God builds us to be creators. No matter what your belief system is, like I think if the Bible says that he put us here and he created us in his image. Well, you're talking about somebody his image, bro. The good book says that he created the stars and the planets and everything. So like I'm supposed to create like what I could barely do by creating an insurance business or a podcast or a soap business. Like that is like on this compared to flinging stars into outer space, right? And so I'm hopeful, man. I'm hopeful that this tide continues to go, and boy, it's gonna be fun when Elon gets to the DoD with some of those no bid contracts that they're gonna uncover over there. Let's talk about management, man. How you got 50 fucking people, dude? How do you keep up with that? Like how do you manage having a team that big? Surely not all of them report directly to you, right?
Absolutely not. That would be impossible. I wouldn't be here today. Um, I mean, my time is already so limited as it is, and I feel like we've got a great team. We've got management in place. I got two sales managers, I got one service manager, I've got a fantastic COO, I've got an executive assistant. My COO has an assistant. I mean, like, got a lot of specialization on the team. We've got a lot of delegating, and we've got to work through a manager model to make sure that everyone is having those one-on-ones, they have that voice, and that they're constantly getting trained. Because if it's coming from one person, it's going to start getting sloppy, and you can't follow through on all of it. That was the biggest realization for me. Was I'm the visionary, right? I'm good at coming up with the ideas. I'm good at getting the ideas out to the people, but I was really bad at the follow up, right?
Same.
If I had to follow up and check in on, hey, how'd it go? What's the implementation look like? That ball would just consistently get dropped. And I think that's where a lot of small business owners start to fail, is that they don't have the time and the ability to do all that. And some of them are not comfortable, but others just are not good at delegating. But to grow any business, you have to relinquish a little bit of control and be okay with 75% of the results versus you doing it at 100%. You got to let it go, or you'll just be stuck forever.
Yeah, Dan Martell says 80% done by somebody else is 100% awesome, right?
I
And
would
so,
take that all day
yeah,
long.
it's the same situation, and that's difficult. Have you read Traction or Rocket Fuel?
I'm laughing because my COO is very analytical. Like, she was hired for a reason. She's good at the details. She's good at the follow up. She's good at the implementation. So she gave me that book. She gave me Traction. And keep in mind, I'm the visionary. I scored a 5 out of 100 on analytical. I wanted to kill myself reading that book. It was torture getting through it. And then she's like, "There's a whole series," and I was like, "I don't think I can do it to myself. I really don't." And it was funny. Last week, I gave a presentation to a networking group, and one of the guys introduced himself, and he's like, "I'm a traction coach." And I'm talking to him and the rocket fuel stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, I implement this into businesses and I help people with it." And I told him the story. He's like, "Oh, yeah, you're the definition of a visionary. Those meetings absolutely are murder to you." I was like, "Yes, yes, they are. I can't stand them." So it was funny. But I've been down that road, but it was a short road for me.
Yeah, well, the only reason I say this because in Rocket Fuel he talks about the visionary. They call it the visionary integrator relationship. And so if you guys haven't read this, highly recommend I like rocket fuel better than traction. Traction is dry, man. Like it got into the weeds of the meetings, and I was like I
Does.
was cool at like the summary of a level 10 meeting. Like, cool, you guys go have it. Whatever the fuck
Right.
happens in there is fine with it,
Yeah.
right? And my team still operates. I actually stopped going to our level 10 weekly meetings because I was like, I'm just coming in here and like thinking up 15 new fucking ideas while we're in
Right.
this hour-long meeting, and it's disrupting them more than it's helping them.
Yeah. So
Um,
I went out and hired an integrator. That's who my COO is, and she's
yep.
absolutely fantastic. She's very good at staying on top of things. She's good at the follow up. She thinks of things that never even enter my brain, and we've been able to scale faster because of her.
Yeah.
And she helps me work with the managers. The managers are a little bit more like me, right? Where they're thinking sometimes a little too high level, but they're good at the
Interesting.
messaging, and she's good at keeping us all on target. And that's been a big help. So I would recommend anybody out there, if you, a lot of business owners are similar to that, because we got a lot of type A personalities for salespeople.
Mhm.
Those integrators can be very helpful for a business. And I haven't gotten to rocket fuel, so maybe you've inspired me to go check it out. I truly gave up after traction because it's such a beatdown. But if you're telling me that rocket fuel it starts to get better, then maybe I'll give it a go.
Yeah, I actually read Rocket Fuel before Traction.
Okay.
So I didn't know about the system because I really like that's when Amanda that's on my team came on board. She was our integrator, which something that's you probably have experienced this as fast as you guys have grown is that it's not the norm for your team to grow as fast as the company grows. And so what happens is sometimes the difficulty, especially for like the entrepreneur, is like you don't necessarily have to kick people off the bus, but you've got to change their seat, right? And so like we've had that where I've had to like move some people around on seats, and it's super important as an owner to like how delicate you are with that conversation. Like you got to make sure that you're talking to the people the proper way, and very appreciative. The ice cream sandwich model, right? Like good, bad, good, as you move them. But the Rocket Fuel book kind of was like my aha moment because I was in a place where I was spinning my wheels, man. Right? It was like I come up with the ideas, but then as businesses grow, especially like in the tech side of things, like innovation's super important. But the challenge is like as you innovate, you also have to have follow through, right? And so like I'm like, cool, let me just get this thing started, and I got to have a team to hand it off to. And I think that's what you're talking about here, like with your managers, with your COO, is like you can have the ideas, but like you have somebody to hand this off to follow us up with it and make sure those things get done. Otherwise,
Yep.
like it would just be a bunch of half baked ideas floating around in the
Yep.
ecosystem, right? Very cool, man. Talk to me about obviously you've probably had turnover in the past. I would guess that the 50 people you got now is not the 50 people that those were the first 50 hires that you've made. What do you see? I always like to look at things from the other side. It's easy to be like, Coach P, tell us what like the most successful producers would be like, or what would they do? But I want to flip it. Like, what are things that you see that people do that would like that's going to cost you your job, or like is going to maybe not necessarily cost you your job, it's going to cost you your own success. What do you see people do? Like maybe give us three screw ups, three big takeaways that you've seen in the past of like, man, if people start doing this or this, like I know they're in trouble.
Sure. Um, First one comes to mind is victim mindset. There's so much of this these days, and it's
Oh
so
yeah.
easy for people because a lot of them have been groomed into this. But I will not tolerate it at all. And it's an immediate issue in my office. We just terminated somebody last week, 2 weeks ago. And, I did an exit interview with them, and the whole time just attack on the manager, right? They didn't set me up for success. They didn't give me the resources. And, there was no reason for me to get into a debate at that point, but it just absolutely solidified that we made the right decision because they have a broken mindset. They're not a fighter. They're not a winner. They're looking for
Yeah.
someone else to do it for them, and they're looking for someone to blame when they don't do it, right? So
Does
the
that come with a
victim
lot of
mindset
excuses too? Like, because like I've seen
just
that like with my own,
nonstop.
not like my own team members, like, hey, this didn't get done. Well, this. It's like I didn't ask for the excuses of why it didn't get done. I'm just telling you, I know I found that it didn't get done, needs to be fixed, right? Like
Correct.
that's part of that. Because like some people, like I'm not a victim. It's like yeah, but a telltale sign is if you're always responding well with like oh well this is why it happened. Like
There's
that's
always a
part of that
reason.
victim, right?
Yeah. You know, I owed something to my COO last week. She needed something, and it didn't get done. And there were a million reasons why it didn't get done, right? You know, my wife went out of town. I was home with 4 kids. There was birthday parties and baseball, and someone was sick, and like none of that mattered. Like I said, it was going to get done. It didn't get done. I took accountability for it. It had nothing to do with her, and none of those circumstances mattered because I didn't deliver it. Who cares what else happened, right? So
Mm,
I immediately reorganized my calendar and said, "That's on me. I will get it fixed immediately, and I'll have it to you by this date." It it doesn't matter. Someone could have died. I still didn't deliver. Like, and
right.
winners hold themselves accountable. Losers point fingers and come up with excuses. And I
Full stop.
want I want the winners on my team. So
Yeah,
that's
man. Fuck,
right.
that one was good. Don't be a victim, people.
Yeah.
I call it broke bitch mentality, man. It's like you can't, I've never met somebody who's like, damn, that's a nice ride, and that's a big ass house, and he's super successful. What do you do? Oh, I'm just a victim. I'm a full time victim. Like, no, it doesn't happen, man. It's just that, like the laws of success don't work that way. That's a good number one. Give us two more, man.
Well, the next thing I think about is just not having principles yourself, like not having solid principles. And I think about, the quote that I mentioned earlier, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And it's not doing what you said you were going to do. It really is, it's that easy, right? Is do you have your own set of principles and do you abide by them, right? I, I'm disciplined. A lot of people aren't disciplined. I would argue that they're going to struggle long term with success. They can have intermittent wins, but if they're not disciplined to do what they expect of themselves, they're not going to win long term, right? They're going to battle with money. They're going to battle with weight. They're going to battle with relationships. They're going to battle with success. They're going to battle. It's going to be a fight because they cannot put the dominoes in place to do the small daily habits, the hard stuff that lead to long term success, right? So for me, I boil it down to do what you say you're going to do. If it's important to you, just do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be harder than that,
Hurting
right?
some feelings in here, man. We're hurting some feelings in here.
The sleeve of Oreos tastes amazing and I want to be skinny, right? Like pick one, pick one. Which one do you want? So in success is the same way, right? I got to make the
Yeah.
calls. I got to have the uncomfortable conversations. I got to ask for the sale. I got to follow up. Like I know what leads to success, but the majority of people are not willing to do it.
Yeah,
So
man.
you got to find the ones that are.
I haven't touched an Oreo since I saw an ad, and I know they just did it for clickbait, but it literally was an Oreo. They took like a blowtorch to it, and it wasn't doing anything. I was
Nothing
like,
changed.
I'm not gonna eat another one of those, man. Like, holy shit, that one, that was pretty crazy. What's
It's
number three, man?
having drive.
Ooh,
There's way too many people that are just sleepwalking through life.
yeah, man.
They have a job because it pays them, right? I want people that are passionate, like they give a damn, right? And I talk about this when I give my recruiting presentations on how to build your team. But when I'm interviewing somebody during the phone interview process, I always coach my team. I don't care what they did. They don't need sales experience. They don't need insurance experience. They just need to be passionate. You could be a damn landscaper, but if you take so much pride in your work and you won best lawn of the like that matters, right? Because I can take that energy and that passion and I can turn it into insurance. So I just want people that are on fire, right?
Yeah,
Because you can't coach that.
you
Like I
can't.
need something in here. I need drive from you. And if you don't have that, you will eventually flake out
Yeah, because
because
you
you'll be
can't teach
looking for the
that.
next thing.
You can't teach that into somebody, right? You can't be like, "Hey, Bill, you hit all your metrics last month, but I just need you to be more driven," right? It's like you're that's that, are salespeople born or are they taught? Like I think that salespeople can be taught a certain level of skill set, but you're going to have a hard time beating the person that's just a pit bull, right? The person that is tenacious. And I always say that, like, timid salespeople have skinny kids, man, because if you're not tenacious, if you don't have that drive, if you're not hungry, and I don't know if that's a nature versus nurture thing or a environmental thing. At the end of the day, it doesn't really fucking matter what it is. It's just one of the necessary recipes for success. And I think that's good, man. So you that was like just that one right there was a little like gauntlet of Coach P-isms, man, of what it takes to be success. That was I like
Those,
that, bro.
those were a few of the we call on the Coach P calls are twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday. And my people are used to soapbox moments. But someone will say something that triggers me, and I'm just like, all right, we gotta have a sidebar real quick. I mean, somebody told me on a call last week, I was talking about a resource that I use that I think is worth all the money in the world. It costs $60 a month. And I made a comment. I was like, look, if your agent won't buy this for you, you should do it yourself. It's $60. And somebody put in the comments that that's a lot to ask for. And I lost it. I'm like, and I did it not trying to attack that person, but I told her, I was like, hey, I appreciate you speaking up, because if you said it, there's others thinking it, right?
That's
But this
true.
is the absolute definition of scarcity mindset, and you can never be successful because of what's holding you back up here. And we like to have these rants because we have to break down these barriers to help people make change, because if we don't wake them up, who's going to rattle their cage?
Yeah,
Right. So
man.
I truly see it as my mission to help people get uncomfortable, to take that next step towards success. And whatever it is in life, that's my job as a coach.
Yeah. That's why I think, man, the longer so I've been an entrepreneur half the years I've been alive, right? Started my first business my senior year of high school. I was 18. I'll be 37 this year. Um, the older I get, I used to think like people were afraid of failure. That's why they don't go like big or go for the fences. I'm starting to think more that people are afraid of success. Like they get in their head about so much about like what it would be like when I get there. And this goes back to that like that discipline, right? And like having discipline amongst yourself. What happens if I get to the top of this mountain and now a certain level of expectations are put on me? Fuck, right? Like that. I think that the longer I'm in business, the more people I deal with, it's easy to be like, yeah, no, I didn't take the leap because I was afraid of failure. Really, you didn't take the leap because you said, well, if I get to that top of the mountain, then like people are going to expect me to be at that level now on.
Yeah.
And if that's that eating that sleeve of Oreos at 2 in the morning, right? And
And a
I
lot of
love
them
that,
don't
man.
think they're capable of it, which is sad. Like they don't think they're worth it. They don't think they're capable of it. And even when they do start to have success, they have imposter syndrome and they don't think they can sustain it. So it's easier to just kind of stay where you are. And it
Yeah.
it sucks because you're sleepwalking.
Mm. Yeah, I heard the saying one time, um, everyone's alive, but not everybody's living.
I
And
like
I
that.
think I
Yeah.
think that that drives that point home, man. Are you a reader? Do you read many books, Coach
I,
P?
I read a lot.
What's a recent book on the list that you can share with the audience today?
Oh man, I've got a
Clearly
lot.
not traction.
Yeah, not traction. I got a lot of favorites. I just finished up Unreasonable Hospitality.
Mm,
That was a fantastic book. Gave me a lot of ideas about our business and what we can do to just go to the next level with service. Um, but you talked about abundance mindset versus scarcity. One of my favorites of all time is Killing Sacred Cows by Garrett Gunderson. That's a huge principle of that book. And this is such a good one because it gets into personal goals and mindset, but also gets into finances and money management. I think that one helps all over the place. So big, big, big lover of Killing Sacred Cows. And I'll give you one more just for our people that love fiction. Um,
oh,
Atlas Shrugged.
oh,
I mean, I know we got a lot of business owners that listen to this call. Atlas Shrugged was probably my favorite book of all time, not just because it's a fabulous book, but when you talk about the definition of passion and loving what you do and making a difference in the world, like that, you cannot be a business owner and not walk away from that book like I am ready to take over the freaking world. And
yeah, man.
I, absolutely. And that's what I've never read a book twice, but Atlas Shrugged is one of those books where I will go back to it multiple times during my lifetime.
Yeah, it's a killer audiobook too. I'm
I should
dyslexic,
try
so
that. I've
um,
never listened to an audiobook. Another fun fact about me.
what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, man, I'm dyslexic. Like I have to read like I mean, fucking Cat in the Hat. I had to read the page like 3 times to understand it. It's I'm joking, guys. I'm not that fucking bad, but like my reading comprehension is so bad that I'm an auditory listener, like learner, and so like I throw an audio book on at 1.2. I don't have to take a single note, get to the end of it. It's like, dude, it's like a sponge. I can retain it forever. Atlas Shrugged was a really cool audio book. Back in my power washing days when I was still in the field, I listened to that like 3 weekends in a row of washing Cintas trucks, and man, that was a pretty cool book. The just when homie made the bracelet for the lady, or it was a bracelet or a necklace, like out of the steel that came from his factory, like I was like, man, that was cool. And I knew Tori, my wife, was like I knew she was the keeper because she read the book as well, and she came to me. She was like, that was such a sweet gesture, and the lady like didn't even think anything of it. It was like, that was when I was like, okay, I got to keep her here. That she thought that steel bracelet was something of value. So, good books, man. Love that. And lastly, dude, we'll wrap it up here. How can people find you online if they want to connect with you?
Sure. My Instagram handle is at Saving with David. That's where you can see the most of me, Saving with David. And if you want to learn more about our coaching and how we help people, that is coachpconsulting.com.
Yeah, man. Very cool, dude. This was a blast. It was a quick 45 minutes. So, any final thoughts you want to leave the people with before we wrap up?
Yeah, guys. I mean, obviously, I was pretty passionate about the victim mentality and doing what you say you're going to do. Walk away with this and ask yourself the question, like, do I have clear-cut principles? Do I know what they are?
Mm,
And if so, am I living by those? Right. So set a bar for yourself, create some expectations that you can live up to, and then deliver on them day after day, one step at a time, and just keep working towards being the best version of yourself.
love it, man. I love it. Coach P in the sales factory, man. I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us, dude. It's been a good one. This has been fun. We'll definitely have to have you on again.
I appreciate it, man. It's always fun being here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Guys, if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, like it, comment, share it. We appreciate you guys tuning in to another episode of the Sales Factory. I'm your host, Coach Carroll. Until next time, hustle, it's worth it, baby.